Hello everyone, it's Lucas No again. Now, I am a little pissed off about something, right? Throughout my last video that I was doing, there was no sound at all. So I'm going to have to go back and basically recap on everything that I have done. And I try to do this as quick as possible. What I have done is I animated my camera. So my camera moves. As you can see, it doesn't move to begin with, but it eventually starts moving. As you can see, it starts turning. I have a lamp there that is actually flickering, which I've animated all the light sources there, so it flickers. I also got this train bridge where there will be lights to come over it, which will represent a train coming past. As you can see, those lines. Now, the reason I am annoyed is because, as I said a little while ago, that my microphone was not recording anything I was doing, and that has really annoyed me because I went through so much. But I guess at the same time, I could use certain parts of it as reference for this project that I'm doing. So if I go back to the actual project that I had to do, the tasks are the summary, record evidence on the blog or document. Basically what that means that my evidence is all my videos. My task 3 is 3D animation, which is I had to demonstrate animation softwares. Now, basically I'm going to have to recap on virtually everything that I have done because you couldn't hear me talking in the last video and I was saying so much stuff, and now I'm just pretty much annoyed. But I try and be as professional as I can, which is why I am not completely shouting and screaming. So what I did with this camera was I used the hotkey to insert keyframes, which is the I key. If I press the I key, you can see that I've got a lot of selections to choose from. With this lamp, I actually animated the specular and the emission of this material, which means that when I go through the frames, it turns on and off like a flickering light. I have a billboard here, which is actually a 2D animation that I worked on in task 2 and task 3. That's already animated. And I also demonstrated in the last video of the graph editor, which if I go back to my 3D view and click on one of these spot lamps, go in my graph editor, you can see these lines. How I made these lines was I went to my key and went to interpolation mode, and I changed it from constant to linear, which means that it keeps the thing in the same velocity or speed, instead of slow in and slow out. It's just it's pretty much just the same speed throughout. It doesn't slow down or speed up, it stays the same. And then I went to my channel and went to extrapolation mode and went to make cyclic F modifier. What that does is that it allows me to make like a simple animation. As you can see with this spot lamp that I've got, I've keyframed it just 3 times, but this graph editor shows that it will continue that same keyframe pretty much forever. It's handy when you're doing something like a helicopter, because a helicopter blades rotate. So using the graph editor for a helicopter's blade rotating will become in handy, especially when you want to make it loop. You don't need to have all the keyframe every single frame to get what you want. With a graph editor you can do a lot of things with very little, basically. This leads me to my next point. What I was actually trying to do was I was actually going to animate the lamp. like this lamp colour here, which as you can see is already highlighted and keyframed. It got this orange box around it. That means that it's got a keyframe on it. This green one means that it hasn't got a keyframe on it, and it's waiting for the next keyframe. Oh, excuse me. But I pretty much summed up that. Before I actually work on that, I'm gonna work on my camera, and I'm gonna give it a shaky camera effect, because my settings for this camera, as you can see, the resolution, frame rate, is all based on my camera that I have now, which is a Canon PowerShot. Even the focal length is the same, but I also changed the depth of field, even though you won't see that in this video at all. But it's just trying to match the camera preset in this to my camera I have in real life, to make it a little more authentic. And because I sometimes hold it with my hand, and for something like this, it's a moving camera, well, therefore I think to make it a little authentic would be to, let me just save it. Yeah, I think to make it more authentic, I would have to give it a shaky camera effect. To do that, I am just going to bring up my timeline, and then I am going to go into my graph editor. As you can see, I'm going to click on this arrow here. I can hide all of that, or I can bring them back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hide all of the things that I don't need, but I'm going to keep the rotations, because my rotations are the ones that are going to have a modifier known as noise. If I click on my XEULA, I think that's how you say it, rotation, I go to here that says modifiers, and I can add modifiers. What modifiers allow me to do is I can make certain changes to certain effects. So if I click on noise and I start moving, as you can see, the camera is wobbling astronomically. That is because of my noise. I can adjust them. I can adjust its scale, which means that I can make it so much. I'm going to make that 25 actually. So as you can see, if it's 25, it is a lot more. It's not as bouncy, but it's a little more going up and down a little more further. So I can either increase its strength, or I can reduce its strength to virtually very little. So let's say 0.1. Now if I move, you can see it's a little more reasonable, but I'm going to turn that down a little bit more. 0.065. Let's try that. Maybe let's go a little lower. 25. Let's go 25. As you can see, you got that slight wobble in the camera. That is known as a shaky camera effect. You can even restrict it on certain frames, which means that it only wobbles. It wobbles at certain points. Like it starts to wobble at certain areas that you want it to start at, and where it ends. I won't be using it in this video. So we're going to our Y now, and we're going to add in another noise. Well, as you can see, look at that. As you can see, it's a bit of a very shaky wobble there. Unlike that one, you can't really see it. But with the noise, we're gonna basically copy that. So 25 and 0.025. As you can see, it is quite a wobble, but it's not as bad as it was. It's more trying to get that human authentic feel to it, like someone's actually holding the camera. I like that with things like this, because it does make it feel a lot more a lot more realistic, as you can see. I can keep dragging it. It's like someone's actually holding it. And that is what I want to achieve there. Now, with these modifiers on, it means that throughout this entire animation now, the camera will always wobble. And I have it to wobble. Try and, like, if you're holding a camera, you can't hold something like purely still. There will always be movement. Even if you put it on a tripod, it will still have a slight movement based on wind, the weather and things like that. So keep in mind that using realistic kind of or shaky camera effect is very important for authenticity and realism. That's what most film studios, especially ones who do live action movies, if you ever seen something like Battle Los Angeles, then there's a lot of shaky camera effects in that, even with just the CGI. It's because it's trying to capture that authenticity, that realism, as if it's like it's actually there, someone's actually filming it. It's quite common in certain documentary based movies. Battle Los Angeles is technically considered a military documentary, even though it's fictional and science fiction. It's still technically a military documentary, as the director liked to call it. The same with the movie called The Kingdom. That was kind of like a documentary-like movie because it also had people who were holding actual cameras, no tripods, literally holding the cameras, being in certain positions where it feels like they're actually there to give that more authenticity and realism. That is no different of what I am trying to accomplish here with the shaky camera effect. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I just pretty much recapped on everything that I did in the previous video, with pretty much in a shorter time span. That's because I've done it, it's there, and I will be sending the original, or the first one, to the people who needs the files. They won't hear me talking here, thank God for that. But it is a little annoying that I had to go through all that effort and find out that it didn't record my voice, and I was talking so much in it, even professional things as well. So that is a bit frustrating. What was my next thing? Well, I was going to animate this lamp, the ad lamp as I named it. The reason I am animating this is because the billboard changes colour. But I can't animate it whilst I'm actually recording the video. So I'm going to have to leave it. But this also means that I can review this video and see if my voice is working. If it ain't, then I am going to cry. So I shall be back very soon. So please stand by.